Now, I'm particularly interested in in this classified record system of the Veterans Affairs Administration, because I can tell you our staff during my tenure in the Congress spent a great deal of time with the Veterans Affairs Administration, and I have never heard of a classified section within Veterans Affairs. Could you tell me, as much as you know in that short period of time here, in about 1 minute,
yes, sir,
what is a classified records sections, and how many classified records do you believe are in there after your experience in dealing with them?
Okay, what was summarized not only in the letter from Senator Kyl's office, which says, once your claim is being processed and it's determined that needed records are classified, the request for those records can be made. What the staffer told me was that the VA has a section that they maintain records for certain operations, and didn't necessarily mean Rendlesham, but any type of military operations. It's classified, and it's up to the gaining command, Army, Air Force, or whatever, whether or not they will allow those records to be released to the VA so you can receive treatment. And she said she came across this recently in the past 2 or 3 years when she was same way, was being stymied on certain cases involving PTSD and Agent Orange, and that she made this available to us. And not only that, but the VA volunteered it again to her, saying that they would not even let her know if my records were classified or not until I filed a disability claim.
Yeah, and in this question, I'm no way excusing a classified records section, especially with regards to medical records. I can't understand that when, as you say very correctly, Sergeant Burroughs, you are the owner of those medical records under the law of the United States. Even military laws, I understand it. And I'm not an expert on that, but that's the way I understand it. But as you found out about classified record sections, it's not just for people that have said, I mean, people that are in classified sections aren't just for members of the veterans that have maybe made statements, as you've made, about things you've seen that relate to unidentified flying objects. Am I correct?
That
they
is
talk
correct.
about Agent Orange.
Yes, that is correct, sir. She said she became aware of it because of her work through with Senator Kyl for veterans and their assistance, and she specifically said it was for PTSD and Agent Orange that they came across this. And she also told me that very few members of Congress were aware of this.
And I'd like to hear from Sergeant Penniston on this question. If those records were handed to you today, what do you think would be on those records? Again, these would be records from the period, what, December of 1980 to, say, 82 or 83, or whenever you had those medical evaluations while you were in the Air Force.
Yeah, there would be a paper trail of my increasing medical condition from the night of the incident, and it showed progressive issues, and that's what it would show. The opportunity that we would have this time is that we will actually say that we were exposed to radiation, and I think that would change how the doctors would look at that.
You believe that the records would absolutely show that you've been exposed to the radiation?
Well, the conditions that were that I explained to the doctors at the time, I think will verify that. But I think Colonel Hull has also done that by issuing that letter to the VA. Okay. Yeah, I think that's what.
Anything else that might be on those medical records? Would your heart condition that you talked about
there would be,
show up there?
There would be showing treatment for vision problems, which were related to my heart, and an unknown. He could not figure out why I was having the vision problems I have. This was a full bird specialist down at Wilford Hall where they ended up sending me, and he did look at me at one point and say, "Were you ever exposed to radiation?" Yeah, and you were a pretty young man. That's kind of unusual at that age, especially you passed your physical exams to get enlisted into the Air Force, I take it. That's a pretty young age to be having heart difficulties, but you do believe those records would show that. I take your answer was yes. Yes, sir. The records was clearly established. I came in healthy, and shortly after the incident, I became known. For either one of you,
sergeants, what has been the CIA reaction to your FOIA requests?
Do you want to hear from us or
Well,
our
maybe
attorney?
we ought to
that
hear
would
from the
directly-
lawyer, if he know, or whoever can answer that the best.
answer that question, frustrating is the first word that, and the one I've already used in regard to them.
But what was their reaction? I understand yours.
Theirs was the typical, what they term the Glomar, from the Glomar Challenger response, which is they can neither confirm nor deny whether they know anything, basically.
And is that do they know something, the CIA? I mean,
Well, they won't confirm or deny
yeah,
that.
but I mean, I'm talking about and I'm not talking about the incident. I'm talking about the medical records here.
Oh, well, now, the request propounded to them included medical records, or any and all records, I really should say. So they don't tell you what they do or don't have in regards to anything. But, and whether they actually have something or not, who knows? I mean, but I have to believe, based also on the boots that were on the ground, that there were the people there.
Okay, now,
After the incident.
do either of the sergeants have any other feeling about the CIA and this?
Not about the CIA, but the State Department we can bring up.
I'd love to hear what you think about the State Department's reaction. Again, not to the sightings or anything, but to the medical records.
Okay. When the State Department was given a FOIA request, they admitted to having records on file.
The State Department
Yes,
has
they
admitted
did,
that.
which would make it an
Which is more than the CIA is.
Yes, but
admitted.
that would mean it was an international incident because Department of State was involved in a foreign country. But what they did then was say that they belonged to the United States Air Force, and it was up to the Air Force to decide whether or not they would be released. The United States Air Force claims there's no records on file.
Okay.